Thank you very much. So in this special address now, we are delighted to be able to introduce the Vice President for Demography and Democracy of the European Union. As Ekaterina mentioned earlier, sadly, the Vice President is not able to be with us in person, but she has very kindly provided us with this short pre-recorded message.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor for me to address you today. I hope to join you in person on another occasion. The causes and consequences of demographic change and depopulation in particular are significant. They require us to prepare our societies and economies now. We often hear about the green and digital transitions that the European Union is currently going through. But there is a third transition. It is, of course, demographic change. This European Commission is the first to dedicate a portfolio to the subject of demography. Building on the report of the impact of demographic change of last year, we are addressing important issues such as aging, rural areas, depopulation, and long-term care. These form the tangible steps towards the European Union for all ages. Addressing demographic change is key to building a fairer, more resilient society. The Commission's demographic change report shows that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. Policymaking needs to zoom into the reality on the ground. Most importantly, we have to see these demographic trends not as challenges, but as opportunities. So in the title of my address today, I would add the word opportunities. This illustrates the change of mindset required in the search for adequate policy responses. But we must not lose sight of a remarkable development. Never before have so many Europeans been enjoying such long and healthy lives. This is indicative of the success and strength of our social market economy. The key demographic trend that is impacting our entire continent is aging. This trend goes hand in hand with depopulation. The territories most affected by brain drain and population decline are also the ones most affected by the aging of the population that remains. This aging trend will significantly impact the European Union as a whole in the coming years and decades. Aging will impact territories affected by population decline even more acutely. An aging population and the decreasing working age population has significant consequences. According to the May 2021 Aging Report, the total population in the Union is expected to shrink by about 5% up to 2070. In addition, the old age dependency ratio is set to increase. It is vital that we prepare our societies and economies for managing this scenario. The Green Paper on Aging, published at the beginning of this year, takes a life cycle approach, showing the impact of aging on all generations and stages in life. It has a significant territorial dimension that is particularly relevant to today's conference. Aging is not just for the elderly. Everyone, including young people, is impacted by the prospect of living a longer life. It is important, therefore, to strengthen solidarity between the generations and strike the right balance between sustainable solutions for our welfare systems. The Green Paper's public consultation shows respondents calling for the modernization of social protection systems, including intergenerational social contracts. This consultation also showed that the European Union should support member states in transitioning toward integrated, person-centered and community-based healthcare and long-term care. The number of people in need of long-term care in the European Union is projected to rise substantially, from 30 million in 2019 to almost 40 million in 2050. This will lead to a drastic increase in demand for long-term care services. On 15 September this year, President von der Leyen announced that the Commission will come forward with a new European care strategy to support men and women in finding the best care and the best life balance for them. This shows our commitment to support those in need of care as well as those who provide it. We cannot have a robust care strategy without looking at both. The European care strategy will include a revision of the Barcelona targets on early childhood education and care. And here, I come to the particular issue of depopulation. Some regions are facing a twin challenge of low income and declining population. The European Commission's long-term vision for rural areas is itself an acknowledgement that rural areas are facing major challenges. The vision is not just for the rural areas. It was conceived in partnership with them. The vision presents the Rural Pact and Rural Action Plan, which aim to connect Europe's rural areas to the regions surrounding them and make them stronger, resilient, and more prosperous. The action plan contains initiatives to sustain remote working, business creation, innovation, and the overall attractiveness of rural areas to help both mitigate and adjust to population decline. And of course, while doing all this, we need to take care to protect the essential character of our most beautiful regions. Part of my role is to facilitate the exchange of best practices between different areas that are facing similar challenges of population decline, and to look at ways to support areas most affected by brain drain. This is an initiative we are working on for next year. We plan to look into different drivers of population decline and its long-term consequences. I work on this with my colleague, Commissioner Ferreira. This is the reason why your conference is so important for me, because your discussion and conclusions will feed into our reflection and enrich our conceptualization phase. We must get this right from the start. In addition, we have devised an atlas of demography to help us identify those regions most acutely affected by the phenomenon of outward migration of their active population. We focus on those aged 18 to 35. The atlas, which is available for all to use, is a comprehensive body of demographic data and knowledge right down to the granular level. Your youth mobility, in particular for those aged 20 to 24, has a major impact on demographic change in regions across the European Union. Some regions are thriving thanks to the inflow of younger people. Others are lagging behind, as increasing numbers of young people are forced to leave due to a lack of opportunities. Small urban areas may also be aging and depopulating because they lack the socio-economic attractiveness of big cities. The gap between regions of population growth and regions of population decline is set to widen in coming decades. Such divergences in the demographic composition of European Union territories generate different place-based policy needs. There are indications that the COVID-19 pandemic might have triggered a degree of reverse migration, with people from Eastern and Southern Europe returning home. It is too early to say whether these trends will be permanent. Nevertheless, these developments represent an opportunity to introduce new forms of internal mobility enabled by teleworking and a chance to move from brain drain to brain gain. It is an opportunity to transform the significant out-migration some regions have experienced for years into a return of a skilled workforce. In 2019, there were almost 18 million European mobile citizens, out of which 13 million were of working age. Persons of young working age are the most likely to move. The findings of the Commission's demography report show that there is no one-size-fits-all approach. As I said, policymaking needs to zoom into the reality on the ground. In July 2020, the United Nations Population Fund launched a new demographic resilience program to strengthen the capacity of European and Central Asian countries to respond to the demographic changes they experience. The program fosters demographically secure societies that understand and anticipate the population dynamics they are experiencing. In early December, I will participate in an UN conference on this very topic of demographic resilience. With next year's initiative on brain drain and population decline, we will help regions in demographic transition to transform into demographically resilient regions with the help of the green and digital transitions and lessons learned from COVID-19. When we speak about depopulation, we also think about inward migration, because legal migration can help us build a much-needed pool of talents. This is why I'm eager to follow the outcome of your discussion about the changing role of immigration as one of the remedies against depopulation. Today you will also discuss depopulation in the context of environmental and climate change. The European Green Deal recognizes climate change as a threat multiplier and a source of instability. At COP26, we heard about the loss of livelihoods and displacement. I'm keen to hear about your discussions on reconciling the impact of climate change with demographic change. Because this is likely to be accompanied globally by climate-induced migration and major socio-environmental consequences, our ambition is to ensure a socially just climate transition to which all should contribute. It is clear that in today's world, digital connectivity is as vital an infrastructure as water supply. This can influence a region's economic outlook and potential to offer attractive jobs. There is a need to ensure that rural regions are well connected between each other and to the urban areas they surround. Given the green transition, the need for accessible and affordable public transport will play an increasing role in a region's attractiveness. Digitalization will ensure improved efficiency and better mobility services for citizens. Rural broadband coverage continues to be lower than the national coverage across member states. This must be changed. And to conclude, dear ladies and gentlemen, it has been my pleasure to share with you our thoughts on demographic change in light of our preparations for next year's initiative on brain drain and population decline. I look forward to working closely with you as we move forward in the design of our work, as our ambition is to provide tailor-made policy responses right where they are needed. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you very much. We are very grateful to Vice President Dubravka Šuica for her very enlightening and astute remarks on the theme of the conference. Indeed, although the Vice President is primarily talking about the EU, it's important to recognize that the themes that she discussed are just as relevant to many other parts of the world. Indeed, some of the sharpest concerns over depopulation, for example, are to be found in the countries on the borders of the EU, some of which are candidate countries. However, it's also very much an issue at the global level in many other parts of the world, not least here where I am now in East Asia. The themes of the Vice President's discussion are each aligned with the various components of our conference. For example, the Vice President referred to the demographic atlas of the EU, which links to the measurement of depopulation. So in this vein, we are delighted to be able to welcome Professor Joshua Goldstein to present a keynote on the formal demography of the topic of depopulation. The Vice President also refers to the critical issue of migration and brain drain. This can be considered both as a key driver of depopulation, but may also be part of the story of offsetting some of these challenges. And we are delighted to present an oral session on this topic just after the break. The extent to which this topic of depopulation has been elevated to the scale not only of this conference, but really of someone of the seniority of the Vice President of the EU is very clear. So as such, we need to consider very carefully the economic, environmental and political context and consequences of the topic. And as Alexia has mentioned, David Bloom's keynote will address some of these issues directly, as well as also in oral sessions tomorrow and on Wednesday morning, which will consider the political and environmental consequences. The Vice President also made a clear statement about the need for a regional view of the issue. Without doubt, there is a high degree to which this issue will be felt at the subnational level, not just in the EU, but all around the world. In this, perhaps more so than any other past Wittgenstein Center conference, we will place an emphasis on local and regional level trends and consequences. This will be addressed in oral session 3, but I should say we are especially excited to have a keynote speech from Angu Jean, who will be able to elaborate on these key regional issues and the need to go purely beyond the national level, which is our general kind of default. Both Wolfgang and the Vice President both mentioned the role of the UNFPA, who are really operating at the front line in many ways of these issues around depopulation and the development of demographic resilience. And of course, how one how policymakers and stakeholders respond to the issue of depopulation will very much be determined by the manner in which depopulation itself is framed. So as such, we are extremely happy that we've been able to team up with UNFPA to have a panel discussion where we have very different views from around the world as to whether or not depopulation is something to be celebrated, a cause for concern, or just a reality that we have to live with. And then finally, all of the different themes that the Vice President has mentioned so far and the directors will be addressed in various different forms in our poster sessions. And I really strongly encourage you all to be able to join us for our poster sessions later on and tomorrow. So I think now we can invite you to enjoy a coffee break. I'm not going to drink coffee because it's 9:30 at night for me. I'll be up all night, but enjoy a coffee break, and we will see you for the oral presentations session 1, which is on international migration and depopulation at 3 o'clock Vienna time. Thank you very much.